If you've seen my TED Talk on the biological basis of personality, then you already know that I have a theory that personality is simply the result of high, medium, and low activity of the three main neurotransmitter pathways in the brain: norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine. Each one of those chemicals regulates a very important part of what we call personality: how we think, how we feel, and how we behave, and the choices that we make. Well, you might be wondering, why do I think that it would be really helpful for temple guardians to understand the biological basis of personality and this system? And it's really multifaceted, but it basically comes down to this. The more you embrace this concept of personality, the more compassion you'll have for yourself and others. So it's really important to know that you might have a personality, but you're not your personality. I mean, I have a nose, but I'm not my nose. I have a body. I certainly feel like I'm more than my body. And we have a personality, but we're not our personality. There's some essence underneath us. But if you compare personality to like a lampshade, it's the lens through which you see your environment, and it's the first thing that people see about you. And if you accept the theory of this personality system, the Enneagram, which I like to call the 9-point personality system, then you can come to see that every single personality is a blessing and a curse. It has traits that are really helpful, and it's all situation dependent, and sometimes they can be really challenging. But each one also seems to have a biological purpose. And if we can understand that, we can start getting less upset. We get less upset with ourselves because you can say and understand, like, oh wait, this is the way I'm wired. And once I'm aware of that, I don't necessarily have to do that anymore. So for instance, I have a personality that's wired to break rules. Imagine that I'm at Burning Man. Anyway, in the past, back in the day, when somebody told me I couldn't do something, I would immediately react by doing whatever it was. And it just so happened that I was between a plane and the ground parachuting once, and mid-air, I asked myself, why am I doing this again? And it was because somebody told me I couldn't. When I landed and nearly broke my ankle, I made a note to myself that in the future, even though my impulse is to react by doing something to show that that I can't be told not, I decided that I would pause and ask myself if it's something that I really wanted to do or if it's something that I really didn't want to do. And I had a lot more breathing room and space and margin, and a healthier mind and body as a result of it. I also think it's really helpful when you understand that if you're not going to get upset with a dog for chasing a cat because that's what dogs do, or a cat for chasing birds because that's what cats do, you stop taking things personally when it comes to other people's personalities. If you decide to learn about this system, you'll find yourself saying, oh, well, that's what a hero does. Of course they would behave this way. And then you just shake your head, oh, you just got to love those little heroes. And just like with a cat who chases a bird, you might want to protect your little bird, put it in a cage, or not have it around free roam flying when cats are around. You might want to protect yourself and give some distance, but you don't get mad at the cat for doing a cat thing, right? And eventually you start realizing you can't get mad at yourself or others for doing the things that they're wired to do that might be very different from you. And if you are willing to explore this system and to learn it, I promise you will be more fluent in human, because you'll know the 9 basic personality languages, what your basic fears are, what their basic desires are. It's shorthand. It's just kind of learning a language. And then if you get the basic language of the personality, you can spend more time on the fine-tuning parts, the parts that make that person more of who they uniquely are. That having been said, one of the things that many people realize in this system is they kind of put together like wait a minute, if I was born with that personality and I had those parents under these circumstances, oh, there, but for the grace of God go I. Now, all that's really wonderful, and it gives much more spaciousness internally, mentally, and emotionally to be able to hold space for others. But there's one other thing I'd like you to know, and that is the relationship of serotonin to personality. It looks like that when a person's activity level of serotonin is low, it makes them more reactive. They feel things more deeply, and they express things in some ways that people would describe as more dramatically. But I think if a boulder falls on your foot, you're going to scream, where to somebody else it might feel like just their toe was stepped on and they don't think it's anything. So a lot of times people in higher serotonin states tend to judge people who are stressed in lower serotonin states. And it would just be really helpful to be aware of that. Now, it looks like of the 9 basic personality types, 3 have high set points of serotonin, 3 have average, and 3 have low. But those set points fluctuate, we think, just like blood pressure does under optimal conditions and stress conditions. And listen, if there's nothing else other than this that you take home, I'd like you to remember this. Serotonin, the well-being chemical in the brain, the lube of life, the thing that makes everything seem a little bit better than it probably is going to decrease under stress, pain, and or fatigue. And when that serotonin decreases, it makes you more susceptible to what? Stress, pain, and fatigue. And if it goes on for too long, it can create feelings of anxiety and or depression. So listen, the next time that somebody goes off on you in a way that might not even make sense, I'd like you to say to yourself, seems like their serotonin is in the toilet, right? Then you might have a little more compassion for them. And then, if you remember this little cheap therapist trick, the degree to which somebody is angry is the degree to which they are hurt and or afraid. So if you can keep those two ideas in mind at the same time, their serotonin's dropping, and what is the hurt and or the fear? What is that childlike response? What is the fire, the hurt and or the fear that's creating this angry smoke? Your approach will be different. You'll come in a much more compassionate, questioning way than being angry yourself, because maybe their response created fear or hurt in you. And that way, when you come in with a question, you come in more gently and creating space to explore what this person's experiencing and how creatively together you might be able to work something out that would help their serotonin increase. Oh, and one last little tidbit, serotonin, they have discovered, increases with random acts of kindness. Get this, doing something for somebody else increases your serotonin, receiving from someone else increases your serotonin, and simply observing others giving and receiving increases your serotonin. No wonder we all love being on the playa.